If someone had told me back in the day that Kratos would become this uptight, brooding father who just wanted a quiet life, I would have laughed in their faces. The Titan killer, Zeus's bastard son, wanted peace after all of this? But it happened. I recently replayed this classic God of War 3, one of my favorites in the series. This is where a game started to look truly incredible with amazing graphics and updated mechanics. The PlayStation 2 era was great, but the PS3 were a game changer. They had a new gameplay mechanics and looked stunning, making the cutscenes and gameplay indistinguishable. And this game was one of their successes that came out of that era, loved by both critics and fans, and for good reasons too. Now playing it in 2024 after playing the 2018 God of War, I can't help but to notice some differences between the two games. I'm not trying to criticize either game. They're just so different. It got me thinking about why they took this direction. I love the new God of War games as much as anyone else. Kratos has matured into a caring father who appreciates more in life, unlike his ruthless, vengeful counterpart from the old games. If Kratos from the old games and the new Kratos were in a different timelines, it would make sense, but they're the same person, which is a mind-blowing. However, how did he grow and decide to have another family after losing his previous one? It's a very good question indeed. Gameplay wise, the mechanics are different from the old games, as are the visuals. In God of War 3, the cutscenes and gameplay blended seamlessly. The 2018 game took this concept to a whole new level, creating a cinematic experience you couldn't look away from. The over-the-shoulder camera perspective puts you in Kratos' shoes, allowing you to experience everything with him. In the old games, Kratos appeared smaller due to the fixed camera angle, making him seem tiny when fighting a giant titan. In the 2018 game, you're right there with him facing enemies. Although in that game it can feel overwhelming when there are many enemies around you, as you can't see like all of them at once, and the movesets often limits you to fighting one enemy at a time. In the old games, Kratos felt smaller, but his blades of chaos and fighting styles make him feel incredibly powerful. Defeating enemies and bosses was incredibly satisfying too, thanks to the button mashing and the immersive experience. The 2018 game has also button mashing, but it's less intense and makes the game feel, a little bit easier. God of War 3 felt cinematic, even in the gameplay. The music and the sound score and the cutscenes were so immersive that it was hard to put down the controller. The game's atmosphere was completely engrossing, and seamlessly transitions between gameplay and cutscenes created a truly cinematic experience. In contrast, the 2018 game, while still visually stunning, felt a bit more segmented. The cutscenes, though well crafted, were more noticeable as distinct breaks from the gameplay. This gave the game a slightly different pacing and tone, emphasizing the storytelling over the action in some instances. But let's return to my original question. Why did they chose to make the new God of War games so different from the older ones? I'll dive deeper into that question after we fully explored God of War 3, which is my main focus of this video. And as I've mentioned in the lengthy introduction, yes, there was a whole introduction, let's dive into the details and uncover what makes God of War 3 a timeless classic. Is it still worth playing in 2024, or has the passage of time diminished this appeal? Let's find out. Now, let's start with the visuals aspects of God of War 3, including the graphical appearance of the character models and the landscape itself. Keep in mind, I'm playing the remastered version on PS5 as it's the only available version. Although the game was originally released in 2010 in PS3, and remastered for PS4 in 2015. It still looks impressive by today's graphical standards, if I can say so myself. The textures are detailed and the environments and character models are beautifully rendered. One of the most striking visual elements in the God of War 3 is the scale of environments. From the towering Olympus to the depth of Hades, the game is filled with eerie, inspiring vistas that immerses the player in the mythical Greek world. The character models are also incredibly detailed, with each character's unique features and expressions brought to life through the game's impressive graphics. For example, Kratos himself is a sight to behold. His muscular physique, scarred skin are rendered with incredible detail. The other characters in the game, from the god of Olympus to the monstrous titans, are equally impressive. Their designs are unique and memorable, and their animations are fluid and expressive. In conclusion, the game remains a visual masterpiece. I'm sure some newcomers might actually disagree with me, but if you go back to the old games themselves, and if you go back to the first God of War, the one that was released in 2010, you'll probably see the difference why this one looks extremely beautiful. Even for newcomers to the God of War franchise, I believe this is why they created this game, to introduce the new players to the old Kratos before the new one. It's also a great way for nostalgia fans to revisit the game and relive old memories. Unfortunately, the gameplay mechanics and controls feel a bit dated. The fixed camera angle and the use of right analog stick for dodging attacks are unusual for modern games, where the right analog stick is typically used for camera control. This can make the game feel less intuitive and more challenging for players accustomed to the newer control schemes, which can make the game difficult for newcomers and also can take some time to get used to. However, this can also be an advantage to players who like, challenging themselves, as the game is quite challenging with its mechanic. Kratos can quickly switch between Hades' weapons and the Blades of Chaos by tapping the analog stick. I didn't realize this right away at first while I was playing this game, and I was also like really lazy to see the tutorials after acquiring the Hades claws. This weapon switching mechanic adds depth and variety to the gameplay, allowing players to adapt their strategies based on the situation. The platforming can be challenging but still holds up well. You need to leap from platform to platform often while avoiding hazards like traps or enemies. The platforming sections are well designed and require precision, timing, and skill. Exploration is a big part of the game, with each stage offering unique platforms to discover. These platforms often lead to hidden areas and treasure chests, rewarding players for their curiosity and exploration. Earlier I mentioned the button mashing, which is a significant part of the game, especially when finishing off an enemy, whether it's a massive boss, titan, or one of those large stone creatures, or a centaur. You need to be alert to pay attention to the screen for a specific button prompt. Each time a random button is required for Kratos to deliver the final blow. I find this to be one of the game's highlights because it's challenging and immersive. It makes you feel like you're right there with Kratos helping him defeat the Titans. God of War III Remastered is a visually stunning and action-packed adventure that brings the epic conclusion of Kratos' saga to a new generation. With remastered graphics and captivating storyline, this game offers a thrilling experience for both new and returning players. Experience the Greek mythology-inspired world in a stunning detail, with improved textures, lighting, and character models. Engage in a brutal, satisfying combat as Kratos unleashes his devastating arsenal of weapons and magic against hordes of enemies and mythical creatures. Face off against colossal titans and gods in unforgettable confrontations that test your skills and determination. Follow Kratos on his quest for revenge as he confronts the gods of Olympus in a climatic showdown. Overall, God of War 3 Remastered is a must play. I can still recommend it to newcomers of the franchise, even if they haven't played the game, even if they haven't played the previous games, they can still experience Kratos at his prime without needing to know the full story. It's a great way to see how ruthless he was before having another family and maturing. Let's revisit the question of why they chose a different direction instead of sticking to the same path. The newer games, with their strong focus on storytelling and over the shadow camera, introduced innovative gameplay mechanics that have become popular in the gaming industry. Seeing the success of games like The Last of Us, Uncharted, Santa Monica Studio knew they needed to create something different to appeal to new audiences and showcase Kratos in a new light. Their decision to rebuild and expand Kratos' story was a brilliant move that breathed new life into the franchise.
Fine. My turn.
And that's it for our video of God of War 3 Remastered. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content if you enjoyed it. You can also follow us on social media using the links in the description below. As always, I am Max from us, Screen TV Magic.
I will see you when I see you.